Hey, Caitlin.
Yes.
You want to talk about the Marvels?
Yes!
Did you like Park Seo Joon?
I did like Park Seo Joon.
He's so pretty.
Park Seo Joon. Park Seo Joon.
Park Seo Joon. Park Seo Joon.
I think my favorite part of watching the movie was when he came on screen. There were two girls who screamed 5 rows behind us, and I felt like I was part of a community.
Because we were also doing that.
Because we were also screaming, and we were just like, I remember standing up. I remember standing up after the credits were done rolling, and I was like, "Who screamed for Park Seo Joon in the back?" Because I heard you.
And then we made friends with
And
them
we
in the
made
bathroom.
friends in the. So, what were your expectations going into the movie? Because I watch a lot of Marvel TV, but it's not necessarily the case for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I was watching a lot of Marvel TV, but then 2 years ago, I went down the K-drama rabbit hole and I've never left. So, like, I was very neutral going in. I had watched the trailer ages ago, but I really didn't know much else. I definitely watched the Captain Marvel movie from years ago and adored it. So I was excited on that front for at least like getting a continuation of what her story was going to be.
So I used to work for Marvel. I worked on Guardians 2, a little bit of Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame. I was in the costumes department. So props to the costumes department.
Props to the costumes.
Props to everybody. Shout out to all cast and crew. Congratulations on all of your hard work. No matter what critics or everybody says, you did a really good job and you did exactly what you were asked to do and more. So yay.
But also this critic and this critic, we both really liked
liked
a lot.
And I did watch Miss Marvel, and I do watch a lot of the Marvel shows still, even though there's a lot to watch. And I liked it. I think I grabbed you halfway through, and I was like, I'm having a good time.
Yeah, you were surprised.
I was surprised. And you know what? When a movie surprises me, that's almost better than me expecting it to be good and, you know...
being disappointed?
No, me expecting it to be good, and it's like, oh, it was good. It was exactly what I expected. It was just like expecting something to be bad, and then it's like, oh, this is good.
Yeah, I was expecting...
It's like seeing a 3-year-old do opera. I'm like, I did not expect this gorgeous...
What an analogy.
Before we continue, if you have not seen the movie, there are spoilers ahead, so turn back now. We have our heading.
We have our heading. Finally!
Right? Okay, let's go.
Woo, spoilers.
The reason why we're talking about this on this channel is because of Park Seo Joon.
Yes.
And you know more about Park Seo Joon than I do. You've seen more of his work. So explain what you know about Park Seo Joon before we get into the nitty-gritty of him in the movie.
So I've seen him in What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, and I've seen him in Fight for My Way. I have not seen Itaewon Class yet, but it is on my list.
Yeah. And Itaewon Class is the one that the director saw him in and wanted to cast him in. So it was because of Itaewon that and KDrama that the director saw him and wanted him in the movie, which is why he is now able to make a debut in the Hollywoodverse. Which
I did not know, and I love learning things from Caitlin. She is a wealth of knowledge with these things.
I don't know how many K-dramas she's watched. It feels like if she's into that stuff, then she's
Probably
watched quite a bit. And so I'm wondering if what I saw as K-drama influence really was K-drama influenced. It's okay. Everything's fine. All of the tea is hot. We're talking about Park Seo Joon.
I'm gonna let this sit here here for a little bit. Okay.
So in the movie, he plays the prince of a planet that is inhabited by, I think, 96.8% water or something.
Oh, it's 99.6% water. So it's probably just like that island.
And that's it.
Maybe it's like an archipelago or something. I always say that word wrong. I'm so sorry.
Archipelago.
Archipelago!
Yay. And it is a planet where, what I found really funny is it is a planet where the language is singing.
Felt operatic in the way that, like, sung through musicals.
Yes.
Kind of, or operatic, where it was like conversation, but it was like very verbose and big because it was sung through. And well, I leaned over to Caitlin and whispered at one point, and I was like, "We found the musical episode," like with once more with Feeling from Buffy, and there's like so many shows that will do their musical episode.
Star Trek just had their musical episode show, and it's just like, okay, here. And there was a joke when they, after they were dancing, which dress was beautiful, top notch, she made a comment that he could sing and talk, which meant he was bilingual, which I thought was a really funny little like, oh, he speaks English and Korean little joke of like, you know, he's a bilingual actor.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the intention of the joke or if it was just in world, but on the meta, that's what I heard, and I thought that was really, really amusing.
Yeah, it was really fun.
And Lynn, as a costume designer, what did you notice in the costuming of Park Seo Joon?
Okay, well, it has a bit more to do with like the world of the planet.
Got it.
That it was the production design and the costume design together. There's like all of these white exteriors and like very curvy doorways and curvy window shapes, and so it felt very organic in that way, and like maybe not necessarily Art Nouveau, but just like referencing that side of architecture instead of it being like very angular. And the same thing was going on in a lot of the costuming, where there's like lots of swoops, lots of drapes, and just really beautiful, joyful colors, which I think complements the fact that the culture is based off of singing so well.
Yeah.
If it's like bright and fun
and the white walls kind of gave a canvas for all the color to kind of happen.
Absolutely. And I've costumed a few shows where like the set is just white. The colors, there was a lot of iridescent going on, which I saw mostly in putting Park Seo Joon in like this onesie thing with like shoulders and the detail. So first off, the fabric choices with like the iridescence, and then like the detail work that was going on top of that. Something that Marvel is very good at is using screen print ink that is then, once it's heated, it expands. So they can basically screen print a texture onto a fabric and then make it into its like own special thing.
Any close-ups of Captain Marvel's suit, you'll see different patterns show up in her shoulder braces. And that's the technique that Lynn is talking about. The iridescence reminded me of like, because the way you were just describing like the curves of the buildings, it reminded me of like waves. And even like the building from far away, the palace, it reminded me of like the sun like coming off of the water, like that, the way it looks when it kind of like I'm trying not to say Little Mermaid, but when it Little Mermaids away from you.
Perfection.
It's a verb now. We did it. And the suit, when it came out, it reminded me, and maybe because I had just bought one for my mom for Christmas. Sorry, Mom, don't watch this. Please watch it. It reminded me of an abalone shell, like that kind of like the under the seashell type of thing, where it's like when the way it shines in the sun, it adds different colors to it. Yeah. So that's what I thought it was. It was like, because it's such a sea-oriented planet, it was based off of like sea-oriented stuff without being like ocean.
Yes.
And I liked the creativity of that design choice. It is something that I looked up after we saw the movie, before I came here, and it was that some people are upset because Park Seo Joon was featured in the trailer and his runtime in the actual movie itself wasn't very long. But and as a filmmaker, I feel like I wished I had one last moment from him when he realized his planet was getting de-watered. And I wish I had an on-the-ground reaction from him. And maybe they shot it and chose to stay with the main three women and our main heroes. But I felt like I got 2 beats of him, but not the third one. And, you know, if you have any experience in writing or narrative, it's keep things in 3s, because you get the beginning, the middle, the end of the arc.
I bet you that it's probably in the script and they just had to edit it for time. And it's just one of those things where it's like stuff just gets put on the cutting room floor.
Park Seo Joon was in this movie for less than 3 minutes.
Was it really?
Less than 3 minutes.
It did not feel like it was
2
only
minutes and
3
47
minutes.
seconds.
You looked it up?
Yes, I looked it up!
You looked it up.
Incredible.
I looked it
Incredible. I mean, maybe I was just soaking in all of that time that I was just like thought that it was for forever.
But it just shows the power of the K-drama culture that's been happening here, and that, you know, with the partnership with Netflix and with the, you know, broadening of Studio Dragon and how easy it is, the, you know, the apps that you can get on the smart TVs with Viki, and that it's here to stay. It's here and it will only get bigger, and I'm excited as a filmmaker to see how it will broaden. I watch K-drama especially, and I got into it, one, because it's awesome, but two, because I think that the filmmaking techniques are different, and I think different is a good thing. And so I feel like there were some tropes in the... Yeah, you're excited.
I'm excited to talk about these.
I just feel this like...
Yeah. I
It's like
can't
little-
help it. Oh, I'm excited over here. So one of the ones that I like immediately came to my brain is forced proximity. Forced proximity is like a huge thing and it's a trope that I really, really love. And it's not a trope that's necessarily exclusive to K-drama. They just utilize it really, really well. In this one, it was through the teleportation, through using the powers, and they're switching places with quantum entanglement and et cetera, et cetera.
Maybe because I just watched Destined with you.
With me?
And that's the first time quantum entanglement had been brought up for me in that particular capacity. But also, I think, like, in Western filmmaking, forced proximity is usually done through circumstance, whereas more often in K-dramas, as I understand it, and yes, I know that there are office K-dramas that it's just circumstance as well, but it's more by design or through magic or through destiny. And so it felt like there was a destiny thing at play with these three heroes, with Kamala and Monica and Carol, with, like, because all of their powers were light based and they were magic based, and the bangle was magic, and, you know, it felt like it was like they were all connected by destiny. Yeah, that they had to be there at this point, especially given the mid-credit scene at the end, that Monica felt like, I have to be here. Like, she even voiced it, like, I feel like I have to stay here. Yeah. And it's like, and then she wakes up and then you see why. And it's like, there is a broader destiny at play, especially if you watch, like, Loki and, like, all of the kind of multiversal shows that are happening, where it's like it all comes to a point and is all predestined in a way. Yeah.
And that totally fits with the MCU and it like being these supernatural abilities that are sort of guiding the hand of destiny in many ways.
And I've watched a couple of K-dramas. The one that's coming to mind recently is King the Land, where you have the female lead with her two female friends, and that kind of felt like they took that kind of narrative device with the three girls
and
the three women, the chosen family idea, and what that really means. And while working in the kind of plot of, you know, Monica and Kamala both saw Carol as their hero, and it's like the you know, Monica feeling like, you know, her hero let her down, and then she's able to come back and it's like, you weren't just my hero, you were my aunt, and I really wanted you here, and I wished you were here, you were my family. And then you saw Kamala kind of have the, like, the glassy eyes, like the starry eyes, break a little bit when she sees what it costs her hero to be a hero.
Twinsies.
And Carol kind of accepting that responsibility because she's used to being alone. And I think a lot of leading ladies in K-drama feel like they are alone in how they feel until they find their chosen family. They also use staring, not quite in the same way as a K-drama does, but like the multiple shot stares of, like, we're not quite sure what is happening. Yeah. And sometimes in American filmmaking, especially now the trend is fill the awkwardness with dialogue
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to filling the awkwardness with more awkwardness. And I feel like bringing some of that awkwardness back and letting the tension kind of build in that way, I think was a really fun relationship thing to build.
And we really liked the scenes where they were training together and like learning how to coordinate their ability so that way they wouldn't be like caught off guard when they like used their light power and they got shot off somewhere else. I feel like they accepted the need to work together as a team very quickly, and that felt very feminine to me.
Yeah. Instead of trying to fight it, they're
Yeah.
like, okay, this is the situation we're in.
Yeah.
But also, the way they did it was by playing games. They did the double
Yeah.
dutch, and they did the like tossing of the ball, and they did the
Yeah.
like even like toss the popcorn and then eat it. Like it was a lot of like it felt like a slumber party in a way.
Slumber
they're
party
like,
in space.
and it's just like, how do we train with like slumber party games, which are ways that, you know, teenage girls and young girls connect with each other as friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like friendship. They used the training sequence as a friendship building sequence as well, so that when you lose Monica in the end, it really is like a heartbreaking moment, and it really does. And I thought it was also good that like a huge part of the K-drama world is the not just the chosen family, but the biological one, the actual family. And you know, you never meet Carol's family. And Carol's family is chosen family, but you do meet Kamala's family, and Kamala's family transitioning from, you know, we have to protect you, you can't go out, that doesn't sound like math homework, to her mom kind of accepting that she's a hero and she was meant for bigger things.
Also,
That's huge. And of course then the transfers on the brother of like, it's
but also they like they full on committed to fighting with her.
They saved
when
the day.
when they showed up in the house, and also when they like
Yeah.
joined the space station. It like they did not
they
shy
were
away.
the only ones to not get eaten by Flurgan.
Yeah. But they didn't
Because-
shy away from needing to like join Kamala in her like
Yeah.
duty.
I do wish there was a shot of a Flurgan trying to eat Mom, because Flurgan do not, and like Mom just staring at one of the cats.
Oh, that would have been fun.
And it's like even the Flurgan does not mess with the mom. Like I would have loved that,
Yeah,
but I feel it in my soul
absolutely.
that happened just off screen.
And it actually does tie a lot into K-dramas, because there's a lot of themes around family duty versus individual desires, wants, and needs, and then like the communal
Broadal
responsibility,
community,
and
Broadal?
how what?
I didn't. I made up a word. It's
Oh,
fine.
okay. I think those dynamics played out really well,
Right.
and they weren't necessarily like it was referencing tropes, but it didn't feel like it was rehashing it in a tired way. It felt really refreshing, actually.
Last thing I want to bring up is that in K-dramas, usually the person that you think is the villain in the beginning is either not the villain the way you think that they're the villain, or it's more complicated than that. When you stay with characters for 16 episodes, they're allowed to transform, including the villains. Or they're allowed to transform and just get worse.
Or like getting more backstory into all of the details of why they're making the choices that they are.
And it usually requires seeing them at home, which for this villain, played by Zawe Ashton, who's amazing, it was seeing her home and seeing how she fought. And I know that both of us felt like what she was fighting for reminded us of a lot of things that are going on in the world currently.
And that with climate change and war over
Resource wars.
resources, and yeah, it's all very heavy stuff, and it's like it's so nice or good when storytelling in these like fantastical settings can kind of explore some of those issues and think about what some of the solutions may or may not be,
Right.
in a not real setting.
They made the deal to repower the sun, that she still fulfilled her promise, because it didn't matter why she made the promise. It mattered that she made the promise, and
Which
that
she?
Carol.
Carol, yeah.
And that Carol still, even after everything, like the planet was not to punish. You know what I mean? Like the people were not to punish.
I just had a realization.
I love realizations.
I asked which she. There are multiple female characters that I had to ask which character we were talking about because we had started the conversation talking about the
only
villain
one.
and being complicated, but then okay.
Ties into the broader narrative of, you know, community over everything, and sometimes it's like you don't know how you're supposed to be of service, you just know that you're of service, and Carol's the only one that had the power to do that. So it's like you have the power to take away, but you also have the power to give back, and that's what light is, and what a light-based power truly means.
There was also a lot of space given for recognizing the making of a mistake and then trying to fix it. And I think a lot of this movie focused in on how is it that we decide that we're going to fix problems, or how are we going to fix mistakes, and what actually can benefit everyone involved instead of causing more death and destruction.
I think what I love about watching K-dramas especially is that the stories and the relationships are really specific, but the plot necessarily isn't. So I didn't feel like I was hammered over the head. I feel like we both discovered different things out of it. I felt like we were both able to gravitate toward different things and different themes and different, like, oh, this reminds me of this versus that. And I think simple storytelling and relationship-based storytelling, that is its power and its strength. And movies recently, especially Marvel movies, feel a little like this is the theme. And instead of this is the story. And I feel like while a criticism might be that in this age of Marvel, this story might be too simple, it is an hour and 45 minutes. It is a shorter runtime than most Marvel movies right now. But I feel like going back to a simpler way of storytelling only enhances an audience's interaction and participation with that story, as opposed to taking away from that participation and interaction with that story.
I would agree, because I think focusing in on something very specific actually makes it better. And so making it simpler is just honing in the focus.
Yeah. So highly recommend this movie to people who want to just be along for a ride. And if you get any of what we got, great. If you got something different than we got, even better.
Tell us in the comments.
And tell us in the comments.
Well, before we go, there's something else we have to talk about. That mid-credit scene.
The one that made me cry?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I literally was crying in the theater.
So tell us why you were crying.
So at the end of... Okay, this is the Marvel talk. And it's okay, because a lot of K-pop bands are also superhero nerds, including my Stray Kids. And so I wonder what they think of the movie. And if you're watching, comment below. But in the end of Miss Marvel, it is implied, because in the comic books, she's an Inhuman, which they've now, like, because of the TV show and a bunch of other factors, and that they're very similar character differentiations, they've kind of cut Inhumans from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Then they're focused purely on mutants because they're very similar. But the end of Miss Marvel ends with the X-Men 97 theme, implying that she is a mutant. And so Carol Danvers is tied very, very closely to the X-Men. She was included in a lot of the Chris Claremont X-Men, which was kind of like the resurgence of X-Men in the 90s, and created a lot of really great characters. But originally, Rogue only had the power to just touch you and take your life force, and if you were a mutant, touch you and take your powers. She got into contact with Carol Danvers and literally sucked Carol Danvers inside of her brain. So Carol Danvers lived inside of Rogue for a very long time, and that's why Rogue in the TV show and in a lot of other media is able to fly and have the super strength that she does, because she took the power from Carol Danvers.
Wow, that's something I did not know.
Yeah, so Carol Danvers and the X-Men are very, very closely tied together. And the mid-credit scene, especially teeing up the Miss Marvel connection that she is a mutant, and teeing up that Carol Danvers is connected to the mutant verse, seeing Kelsey Grammer's Beast again made me cry. And I'm so excited that that is the character that they chose, because it makes the most sense, and it is destiny that they are becoming part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe again.
Okay, so one thing that I was very excited about with this mid-credit scene is that, like, in order to save what was happening, Monica gets sucked through this, like, jump hole, or whatever it's called.
Flurgan.
Flurgan. Whatever the flurgan it's called. She gets sucked through, and she's, like, stuck on the other side in a different parallel universe in this, like, multiverse that has been introduced within the MCU, and she wakes up in essentially like a medical bay, and her mom, a young looking version of her mom, which earlier in the movie we saw, like, the almost on her deathbed cancerous version of her mom, and she's like, what's going on? And
why are you calling me mom?
Yeah, and Maria doesn't. Oh, well, if her name even is Maria.
Her name is Maria.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But just that alone made me so happy, because I was terrified that they were going to fridge her.
So the reason why, when they did that pullout, and I think he did say her name, but the costume that you saw was a costume for a character called Binary. And that is the reason she's called Binary, is that in Chris Claremont's Uncanny X-Men, I believe 164, I think. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
I can't help. I'm sorry.
It's when the Carol it's part of the, like, Carol Danvers in the X-Men arc, but in that version of the universe, that is Carol Danvers's doppelganger is Maria Rambeau, and Binary is the kind of Carol Danvers in this kind of universe. So the fact that you pull out and you see the Binary costume, and you given the connection, it's like, yeah.
Wait, I'm remembering there was a line earlier in the movie where Carol said to Maria, "It should have been you who went up there." So this is the universe where she, like, went up there.
Yes.
Oh.
Flirting it up. Flirting it up. It's the greatest.
Okay.
So the nerd level just rose for you, right?
It's great.
It's great.
Well, and also it's so satisfying when there's, like, those little
hints from the beginning.
In there. Yeah.
Which is why, like, they needed to film that scene, and that's why they did it. Which is also showed that, like, while she had cancer, Carol did come back. And that was just a really impactful scene for me, because I am a big X-Men fan. And
she is a big X-Men fan to the point where she made a short film that is called Uncanny.
It takes place after the 4-part Rogue series that was done in 1995, and I felt like there was some unfinished business between Rogue and Gambit. Technically, in the canon, she goes off and finds Hot Magneto, which should never change, because Wesley Magneto is, like, the greatest, and I love him a lot. I'm sorry. But I felt like there was some unfinished business between Gambit and Rogue. So you can find Uncanny X-Men at the doobie-doo below. And it will also be showing at Geek Fest at LA Comic-Con. So if you're going to LA Comic-Con, check out Geek Fest and check us out on Sunday and come say hi. I'll be there.
We'll be there.
So I had a really great time watching the movie. I was more surprised than I thought it would be. Was not surprised at how dope Park Seo Joon was.
I could probably watch that scene of Park Seo Joon dancing with Brie Larson many times over.
Way to go. Way to go, all the filmmakers, all the cast and crew who worked on it. Again, really, really good job from two people in this industry who love it very much.
Yeah.
So go see the movie if you haven't. And
thanks for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz.
Woohoo! All right. Hallyu with me?
Hallyu with you.
See you next time.
Annyeong!